Hey everyone, welcome back to Steve's View. If you've been following the headlines lately, you probably noticed something big happened in Japan this week. Donald Trump just wrapped up a high-profile visit to Tokyo, and let's just say, it wasn't your average diplomatic photo op. In the span of about 48 hours, Trump managed to praise Japan like never before, promise Prime Minister Sanae Takasu anything you want, and walk away with a massive $500 billion investment pledge. That's right, $500 billion. Now that might sound like a friendly exchange between two allies, but trust me, this trip was about much more than handshakes and photo ops. It was about power, strategy, and the kind of transactional diplomacy that defines Trump's world. So today, we're going to break it all down. What happened during the trip, what it really means for US-Japan relations, and how it fits into Trump's bigger global playbook. Let's get into it. Let's start with that moment everyone's been quoting. According to Bloomberg, during Trump's meeting with Prime Minister Sanae Takasu, he looked her right in the eye and said, "Anything you want." Simple words. But in Trump's world, those words carry weight. Bloomberg described the scene as surprisingly warm, even personal. Trump called Japan one of America's strongest allies, praised its growing military strength, and said he wanted the relationship to be stronger than it has ever been. He told Takasu, "Whenever you have any questions, any concerns, any needs, any help, whatever assistance I can provide to Japan, we will always support you." Now, that's not just flattery. That's a message, and a deliberate one. Because when Trump says something that sweeping, he's not just making a polite diplomatic gesture. He's signaling priorities. And right now, Japan is clearly one of them. Let's pause for a second to talk about Sanae Takasu herself. She's Japan's new prime minister, the country's first female leader, and politically, she's seen as a successor to Shinzo Abe, the longtime prime minister who built a very close relationship with Trump. During their meeting, Trump even said, "Before I met you, Shinzo Abe told me about you." That line isn't random, it's symbolic. It tells us that Trump sees Takasu as part of that same political family, a continuation of the partnership he built with Abe. That personal connection really matters in Trump's diplomatic world. He values loyalty, familiarity, and chemistry over formality and protocol. So when Trump says, "Anything you want," it's not a blank check. It's a way of saying, "You're one of my people. I trust you. Let's make a deal." And that sets the stage for what came next. While the "anything you want" line made headlines for its tone, the Wall Street Journal dropped a second story that showed us what that anything might actually mean. During Trump's visit, Japan unveiled a $500 billion investment plan for the U.S. economy. Over $300 billion for energy projects, including nuclear cooperation, and another $100 billion for advanced tech sectors like AI and rare earth minerals. And get this, during a speech to U.S. troops in Japan, Trump announced that Toyota was planning to build a $10 billion manufacturing plant in the U.S. He even joked, "Go buy a Toyota." Classic Trump, turning a military speech into a business pitch. But beyond the humor, there's a clear political message here. Trump wants to prove that America first doesn't mean America alone. It means America at the center of global investment and trade, with allies paying their share. So while Trump was telling Japan, "Anything you want," Japan was basically saying, "Here's $500 billion. Let's make it happen." That's not friendship, that's leverage. On the surface, this looks like a win-win. Trump gets to say he's bringing jobs and money back to America. Takasu gets to say she's strengthened ties with Washington and secured U.S. backing for Japan's security. But dig deeper, and you can see what's really going on. This isn't just diplomacy, it's strategy. Trump's visit to Japan is part of a bigger pattern, a clear effort to shift America's global focus away from Europe and toward Asia. He's been skeptical of Europe for years, calling NATO obsolete, criticizing Germany for relying on Russian gas, and accusing European allies of not paying their fair share for defense. Now he's doubling down on a region he sees as more dynamic, more reliable, and far more strategically important, the Indo-Pacific. And in that region, Japan is the centerpiece. Japan's position in the world is changing fast. After decades of pacifism following World War II, Japan is now openly expanding its defense budget, modernizing its military, and taking a more assertive role in global security. And that's not coincidence. It's a direct response to rising tensions in East Asia, especially with China's military buildup and North Korea's missile tests. Trump's administration has been encouraging that shift. His defense secretary, Peter Hegseth, recently said something that summed it up perfectly. Japan is no longer a junior ally, it's a strategic equal. That's a big deal. For 70 years, the US-Japan alliance was built on a simple bargain. America provides security. Japan provides economic power. Now, that balance is changing. Trump wants Japan to take on more of the defense burden, to lead regional operations, invest in advanced defense tech, and help keep China in check. So when Trump praises Japan and calls it one of America's strongest allies, it's not just flattery, it's recruitment. He's saying, we're partners now. Time to step up. Trump's diplomacy has never been about sentiment or symbolism. He doesn't speak in the language of treaties or shared values. He speaks in the language of deals. Every alliance, every handshake, every promise, in Trump's mind, it's part of a negotiation. When he says, anything you want, it's not, I'll protect you no matter what. It's, I'll give you what you need if it benefits both of us. That's Trump's version of fairness, mutual gain, shared responsibility, and zero guilt. It can be appealing to some leaders, especially in Asia, where transactional politics often feels more straightforward than Western-style moral diplomacy. But it also creates tension. Alliances become conditional. They depend on what each side brings to the table right now. So while Japan might be Trump's favorite ally today, that could change tomorrow. What does Japan actually gain? A lot. First, direct access to the White House and a promise of U.S. support. Second, political validation for its growing defense ambitions. Third, economic protection. Its investments in the U.S. create goodwill and shield it from trade wars. But there's also risk. The more Japan steps up militarily, the more it becomes a target. If things heat up in the Taiwan Strait or South China Sea, Japan could find itself pulled into a conflict it doesn't control. And when that happens, it may realize that anything you want doesn't always mean everything you need. Here's the bigger picture. Trump's second-term foreign policy revolves around three core goals. 1. Cut dependence on Europe. The EU is fragmented, slow-moving, and no longer central to U.S. strategy. 2. Contain China's rise. That means stronger alliances across Asia. 3. Redefine alliances as partnerships, no more free rides. But why this shift? Why move America's strategic center of gravity from Europe to Asia? The answer lies in the changing nature of threats. Russia, despite its aggression, no longer poses an existential danger to the United States. Its economy is smaller than California's, and its military has been drained by the war in Ukraine. It can still cause trouble, but it can't truly challenge American global power. China, on the other hand, is a different story. It's not just a regional rival, it's a global one. As Secretary of State Marco Rubio put it, China is the most powerful and the most capable adversary the United States has ever faced. Economically, technologically, and militarily, Beijing rivals Washington across the board. It dominates supply chains, expands influence in the developing world, and projects power far beyond Asia. It's the kind of comprehensive challenge America hasn't faced since the Cold War. That's why Trump's recalibration isn't just tactical, it's strategic necessity. Europe can handle itself. Asia is where the future of global power will be decided, and Japan fits perfectly into that model. Rich, stable, geographically crucial, and eager to carry more responsibility. Under this vision, the U.S. no longer acts as the world's policeman. It acts as the world's chief negotiator, building the coalitions and letting regional partners share the load. And that's exactly what we're seeing unfold right now. When you see the headlines, Trump saying anything you want, Japan investing $500 billion, it's tempting to think this is just about friendship, but it's really about balance. Trump is recalibrating America's global relationships based on performance. Who contributes what? Who's pulling their weight? It's a move from emotional alliances to practical ones. For Japan, that's empowering and risky. It earns respect, but also responsibility. And that's exactly how Trump wants it. The Indo-Pacific is now the central arena of global politics, economically, militarily, and technologically. Whoever shapes this region's future will shape the 21st century. Trump knows that. He's betting that by deepening ties with Japan, South Korea, and India, he can build a network to keep China in check without over-relying on Europe. Japan's $500 billion pledge isn't just an investment, it's architecture. It binds Japan's growth to America's and ensures both rise or fall together. So when Trump says, anything you want, he's really saying, let's win together, as long as it makes sense for both of us. Here's the thing about Trump's diplomacy. There's always fine print. Behind every friendly statement, there's a condition. Behind every offer, there's an expectation. This relationship, as warm as it seems, isn't built on sentiment. It's built on reciprocity. That's not necessarily bad. It keeps both sides accountable. But it also means this partnership isn't bulletproof. If Japan ever drifts from U.S. strategy, especially on China, Trump's tone could flip overnight. Anything you want might age the same way best friends forever texts do. Sincere in the moment, but always subject to revision. This visit wasn't just about two leaders smiling for cameras. It was about redefining what the U.S.-Japan alliance means in 2025. It's no longer a one-way security guarantee. It's a two-way partnership built on shared interests, shared investments, and shared risk. Trump's diplomacy might feel unpredictable, but it's grounded in results. He wants deals, not declarations. Still, transactional diplomacy only works as long as both sides feel the deal is fair. Once one side feels shortchanged, that's when cracks begin to show. So when you strip away the headlines and sound bites, what's left? Trump's message to Japan wasn't, "I'll protect you no matter what." It was, "You matter because you're capable, reliable, and useful." That's respect, but conditional respect. Support with strings attached. And that's the real story behind anything you want. It's not a promise. It's an offer, one that comes with terms, expectations, and a reminder that in Trump's America, even friendship is a business deal. So what do you think? Is Trump redefining America's alliances for the better, making them more balanced and realistic? Or is he risking the trust that held them together? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. And if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive into global politics and power. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.